Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. Please welcome the president of the Halifax International Security Forum, Mr. Peter van Praagh.
Your Excellencies, Ministers, Members of Parliament, members of the Congressional Delegation, distinguished officers, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, and friends. Earlier this month, in the heartland of America, something transpired that nobody saw coming. The Chicago Cubs won the World Series. My name is Peter van Praagh, president of the Forum. On behalf of everybody who has worked to put this gathering together for you, welcome to Halifax. Today, 300 participants have traveled from over 70 countries to join a select group of fellow democratic thinkers to have a real conversation about international security and the challenges facing our nations now and into 2017. Please feel free, while keeping your phones on silent, to use social media to convey your thoughts throughout our on-the-record sessions. Our hashtag is hashtag HISF 2016. In a moment, you will hear from the Honourable Harjit Sajjan, Canada's Minister of National Defence, and your host for the weekend. But quickly, I do want to explain how it works here at Halifax International Security Forum. For those of you who have been here before, you already know that we take pride in creating an atmosphere that provokes serious conversation and debate. I encourage you to help your colleagues and new friends who are here for the first time in any way you can. You will find that the agenda is most importantly relevant. And I want to thank our agenda working group who worked with me during the summer to ensure all major issues were addressed. In this program, you will find short opinion essays by distinguished authors, many of whom join us this weekend. They set the stage for the plenary panels. They are meant to start the conversation, and without exception, they are excellent. Please take time to read them. This forum brings together people on the front lines facing consequential local threats, writers who challenge and influence the world's thinking on security, and decision makers who make the tough choices. None of this would be possible without you, our participants. Thank you for making the trip. Thank you, Senator McCain, Senator Shaheen, for leading the congressional delegation. Special thanks to Senator Kane, who we will honor this evening with our Builder Award for joining us again. Together, all of your participation at Halifax is vital. Bill McCaffrey, founder of Calgary-based Meg Energy, founded the Halifax Canada Club 5 years ago to ensure that industry's ideas for international security are included in the conversations here at Halifax. Thank you. Thank you also, Mr. Ahmet Çalık, chairman of Istanbul, Turkey-based Çalık Holding, and Nancy Southern, CEO of ATCO, for your unwavering support. And welcome Mr. Savaş Erdem, CEO of Ankara, Turkey-based OYAK, our newest member of the Halifax Canada Club. Welcome, Savaş Bey. Together, the Halifax Canada Club ensures that the work we do here this weekend and throughout the year will continue. Bill, Ahmet, Nancy, and Savaş, and members of their teams will be identified this weekend by their gold lobster lapel pin. When you have a chance, please thank them for their very generous support. Thank you also to NATO and to Foreign Affairs Magazine, our media partner. Thank you to Blue Water Federal, Boeing, CAE, CCC, Audi, Air Canada, DLA Piper, Ipsos. I thank the City of Halifax and the people of Halifax for hosting all of us this weekend. In fact, the true secret to our success is this gorgeous venue and the warmth it provides. I will just mention that we have many local volunteers from the community. They are identified by their white lanyards, and I know are looking forward to helping you. I want to thank members of our board of directors for their leadership and for being with us this weekend: Jonathan Weistub, Jonathan Tepperman, David Kramer, and General Counsel Dean Felk. I want to thank Joe Hall, our Vice President, and my partner in this endeavor. Halifax International Security Forum began as an initiative started by Peter MacKay when he was Minister of Defense, and I'm glad to have him back with us again. Thank you to the Government of Canada, the Department of National Defense, and the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, ACOA, for your enthusiastic support. Specifically, I thank Minister Sajjan for your leadership and your unwavering commitment to what we do now and into the future, and Chief of Defense Staff, General Vance, for your confidence in us too. Ladies and gentlemen, the mission of Halifax International Security Forum is to strengthen strategic cooperation among the world's democracies. We are meeting this weekend for the 8th time. The conversations that we've had at Halifax over those 8 years included Middle East peace, Afghanistan, Iraq, the potential for Arab democracy, Syria. We've covered the effects of modern technology on warfare, discussed Georgia, Ukraine, the future of NATO. Big themes we've covered are the challenges posed by expansionist Russia, posed by revisionist China, and posed by global terrorism. Of course, we will continue to address those challenges and others. Addressing the tough challenges, the tough issues, is what we've all signed up for here at Halifax International Security Forum. What we've signed up for collectively is democracy. And this year, as democracies, we must consider ourselves. 75 years ago, this past summer, August 1941, Roosevelt and Churchill met off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador, not so far from here, to hammer out the Atlantic Charter that ended the notion of spheres of influence, set the goals for World War II, and the ideals that would govern the post-war world once fascism was defeated in Germany. But it was Japan, on December 7th, 1941, of which the 75th anniversary will be marked next month, that attacked Pearl Harbor, and the following day, December 8th, the United States declared war on Japan. Incidentally, standing here, it is worth noting that always the reliable ally, as a result of Imperial Japan's attack on the United States, Canada actually declared war on Japan the very same day, December 7th, one day before the United States. At the White House, and certainly in London, there was panic that now the United States would be forced to focus its military effort squarely in the Pacific at the expense of the European theater. But on December 11th, 1941, in a decision that changed the course of the war and the world, Hitler declared war on the United States. Now, 75 years later, there continues to be debate about why Hitler made what turned out to be an incredible strategic blunder that allowed Roosevelt to turn the United States' mighty military potential toward Europe. But one reason remains clear and is important to talk about today. Hitler believed that the United States, as a democracy, was decadent and fat, and with no history of authoritarian discipline to control and direct Americans, was only interested in luxury, dancing, drinking, and the good, easy life. Indeed, the United States in 1941 and all democracies before and since lacked a so-called strongman to unite their country. The error that Hitler and all authoritarians make is to confuse pluralism for division, mistaking pluralism for weakness. Rather than a weakness, pluralism is a democracy's greatest strength. And so, it was the democracies that won World War II against fascism. It was the democracies that won the Cold War against communism. And it will be the democracies that endure and defeat global terror. Authoritarians don't understand democracy, don't understand pluralism, and so they are scared and weak. That is why they need censorship, and we don't. That is why they need to rig elections, and we don't. And that is why they are afraid of their own people, and we are not. And yet, now we have a problem in our democracies. That problem has been variously described between a disconnect of the elites and a distrust of the people and their institutions. Our challenge is to show that democracy can overcome that distrust, to show that democracy works and that indeed is better, stronger than all the alternatives. Democracy includes free elections, but free elections are not all that democracy is. Democracy is equally about what we do between elections to make democratic institutions work for the public. Democracies don't admire the strongman in Russia or Syria or anywhere as an example to emulate. No, it is democracy that is the inspiration and the aspiration of this entire planet. To appropriate Martin Luther King Jr., the arc of history has proven again and again to bend toward justice. Together in this room and beyond, it is our shared responsibility to ensure we protect that record and carry it forward. Together, we will make democracy great again. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege now to welcome to the podium the Honorable Harjit Sajjan, Canada's Minister of National Defence, and your host for the weekend. Minister.
Peter, thank you again. Mayor Savage, ministers, ambassadors, generals, admirals, members of the Canadian Armed Forces, distinguished guests. Senator McCain, Senator Shaheen, I want to thank you for co-leading the largest United States bipartisan congressional delegation at the Halifax International Security Forum. And in the same spirit of cooperation, I look forward to working with the new administration, and I look forward to working with the new Secretary of Defense when he or she is named in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel privileged to be hosting this event for the second time and to have so many friends and colleagues joining me in Halifax this weekend. In this room right now, I see participants from across the globe: Africa, Asia, North and South America, Europe, Australia, and the Middle East. Each of you bring unique perspectives and insights to this event, and our conversations are strengthened by your participation. So let me begin by thanking you for being part of the forum this year. Now, last year's forum took place just weeks after I was named Defense Minister. So what a gift it was to begin my time in office immersing myself in issues with you. Now, if it was a gift and a curse at the same time, because I had to answer a lot of media questions at that time as well. But these connections I made and the themes we covered at this forum set the stage for a very busy and productive year for our new government. One of the themes that arose several times at last year's HISF discussions was collaboration. Collaboration between partners and allies to strengthen peace and security around the world. Since then, Canada has recommitted itself to multilateralism more strongly than we have in many years. Our world has changed dramatically. The security environment is more complex. Terrorism knows no boundaries. Violent extremists do not belong to one group, or one nationality, or one region. As a result, traditional solutions may not bring us the desired effects. We need to adopt, we need to be agile, and we need to act. Last year, I was asked many questions about our government's intentions in Iraq as we were newly elected. I'm proud to say Canada has significantly increased our contribution to the global coalition. Our shared goal is to defeat Daesh and allow the Iraqi government to maintain the country's security in the years to come. To that end, we have significantly increased our mission to include training, advising, and assisting local security forces. We are seeing the impact of the great work of our special forces as they advise and assist the Peshmerga in the liberating of Mosul. Our strategy is centered on the understanding that military power alone will not resolve this complex crisis. And I know you share this perspective as well. Ours is a whole-of-government, comprehensive effort that will not only help to defeat Daesh, but also seeks to address the social and political factors that allow it to emerge in the first place. We see our coordinated efforts bearing fruit today. We doubled our efforts for the capacity of intelligence, which has allowed the coalition to better target, degrade, and defeat Daesh. Daesh has now lost hundreds of its leaders, and more than half of its territory it once dominated in Iraq, including strategic towns like Fallujah, Hit, and Rutba. Iraqi security forces are now in the process of liberating Mosul, Daesh's last major urban stronghold in Iraq. As we celebrate the courageous work of our troops and the Iraqi security forces, we must also ask ourselves the question, how did Daesh become so big? Ladies and gentlemen, Lester B. Pearson, our former Prime Minister and the founding father of modern peacekeeping, once said, "The best defense of peace is not power, but the removal of the causes of war." Often, historical grievances are those causes of war. An unstable political situation or political vacuums often become a flashpoint for violence. It is with this hard-fought understanding that we have announced our recent commitment to United Nations peace operations. We have pledged up to 600 Canadian Armed Forces personnel for deployment to troubled areas around the globe. We have also launched our new Peace and Stabilization Operations Program, worth $400 million. I recently returned from my second fact-finding trip to Africa, as we put the final touches to where Canada can best support peace in the world. My goal was to learn the ground truth about conflicts across the continent. It was important to hear directly from civilians, military leaders, government representatives, and other key actors. I always want to make sure that any missions Canada plans will enable a positive change for the long term. We know this is a complex task and one we must commit to the long term and in an enduring way. We must be frank about what is working and what is not. And we must consider innovative approaches to peace operations. In Canada, we are working on new innovative ways to do capacity building. We also know these missions are not free of risks. And we are approaching these missions with our eyes wide open. We know our Canadian Armed Forces personnel are well trained to do this type of work. They will have the right mandate, robust rules of engagement, and a duty to protect civilians. But once again, military contributions are only part of the solution. Canada is not just renewing our commitments to international organizations, we are committing to the range of activities that we hope will create lasting conditions for peace. We need our diplomats to work on conflict prevention and conflict reduction. We need to empower women in conflict zones to lead decision-making in security matters. We need to reduce crime in communities, and we must work to empower youth and give them opportunities that will keep them from turning to radical groups for employment or for a sense of belonging. In short, by working to address the root causes of conflict, by engaging other nations to work with us, and by working on a variety of initiatives from training to humanitarian assistance, development, and education, we can maximize our contributions and increase our chances of success. Let's not forget the NGOs, civil society, and the business community have a role to play as well. Ours will be a broader approach because that is the nature of modern conflicts. Unconstrained by borders, they often spread to regions as a whole. Many of our allies have been working tirelessly in peace operations for many years. We want to build on their expertise and achievements in this field. We know that despite our best efforts to eliminate violent conflict, there are innocent people trapped in conflict zones who cannot afford to wait for a better tomorrow. We know that it is our responsibility to help the world's most vulnerable resettle out of harm's way. This year, Canadians were proud to welcome over 33,000 Syrian refugees to communities across the country. The Canadian Armed Forces were proud to be part of that effort as they assisted with the processing of refugees in Lebanon, Turkey, and Jordan, and then helped many to Canada. In fact, right here in Halifax, 1,000 Syrian refugees are building new lives and experiencing the legendary hospitality of this wonderful city. Ladies and gentlemen, what an honor it is to be among you as we launch this exciting conference. I am grateful to HISF's President Peter van Praagh and his team for their tireless work in developing such timely, relevant agenda and organizing this world-class event. We are meeting at a time when violent extremism is still a major cause of insecurity around the globe, and I'm glad that several of this year's forum sessions will touch on that topic. In spite of the advances we have collectively made against Daesh in the Middle East, extremist groups are now emerging in Africa, and they continue to target civilians in public places around the world. We witnessed such attacks last March in Brussels, and again this summer in Orlando, Florida. We witnessed them in Nice, France, and not to mention in Turkey, where people suffered from terrorism more than once this year. I know we are all eager to find the solutions to this global problem so that no more innocent lives are lost. I'm also happy to see opportunities to discuss the intersection between climate change and security issues on this year's agenda. These are issues of great relevance to Canada, and as we work to protect and defend our Northern Territory. We will also take some time to explore the ongoing troubling situation in Eastern Europe. With some still refusing to play by the rules, we are determined to push forward in our deterrence efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to stress that Canada's commitment to NATO is unwavering. We have strengthened our commitment to transatlantic security and our NATO partners. We will assume the leadership of one of 4 multinational battle groups being deployed to Central and Eastern Europe. This enhanced forward presence will support NATO's defense posture and send a clear and open message to deter threats of force against alliance territories. We host this forum every year because we believe that it is these dialogues that bring us closer together, these exchanges of ideas that help us see the big picture, and these strengthened relationships that pave the way for a more secure world. We have an inspiring program ahead of us, and so without further delay, let the discussions begin. Thank you.
No, somebody's got to talk to me on it.